I think a lot of times when we think of traveling, we think, oh, we need to have our passport. We need to just cross the ocean. And I'm like, no,
Yeah.
literally look at your neighborhood cities and states. I know for a fact that you can't pour from an empty cup. So taking time for yourself isn't selfish. I'm going to say that again because I think we all
Yeah.
need to hear that. Taking time for yourself isn't selfish. It's actually
Hi, I'm Esmeralda, your career coach, mom of two, and founder of New Horizon Moms. I worked in the chemical industry for 15 years as a chemical engineer. I took my career pause in 2023, and the following year, I founded New Horizon Moms. I created New Horizon Moms to empower women professionals to build a career on their terms so they can be successful at every stage of motherhood. Mama, when was the last time you had a moment completely to yourself? Maybe you used to travel often before having kids and love the opportunity to get away, explore a new destination, and experience something different. But after becoming a mom, finding that same freedom and space can be hard to come by. I remember taking my first solo trip after having my kids. I drove a few hours to attend a mom conference and spent one night away from home. At first, it felt strange being apart from my kids, but once I settled in, it felt so good to enjoy the simplest things, like sitting in a quiet room, eating a meal without interruptions, and having the freedom to move at my own pace. That experience reminded me that solo travel isn't about escaping your family or loving them any less. It's about creating space to reconnect with yourself beyond your role as a mom. Sometimes that time away can help you rediscover your joy, your confidence, and the parts of you that may have been put on hold. I believe it's one way you can get your pink back and rediscover who you are now in this season of motherhood. I'm excited to introduce Bianca Alba. Bianca is a proud Latina and first generation college graduate. Born in Cochabamba, Bolivia, she is the oldest of four sisters and holds both a bachelor's and master's degree in public health. She is the founder of This Latina Travels, a platform dedicated to empowering women, especially first gen Latinas, to see themselves in spaces they once thought were out of reach. Her goal is simple: to inspire and support women who look like her to explore the world, build confidence, and create lives rooted in purpose. As a child growing up in a single parent household, travel felt like a distant dream, but today she's traveled to six of the seven continents, proving those dreams are possible. Beyond content creation, Bianca is deeply committed to giving back. She has led two alternative spring break programs in Puerto Rico, bringing together students and generating over $75,000 in support for local organizations. Her most recent program welcomed 18 participants and contributed over $28,000 through service, sustainability, and cultural connection. Here is Bianca in action. And as you can see, she's been to Egypt, she's based in Puerto Rico, she's visited Peru, Germany, Bolivia, and here's a clip of her exploring Madrid. Welcome, Bianca.
thank you. I'm so excited to be here and be here with your community.
Thank you for being with us, Bianca. So, can you tell our audience what inspired you to become a travel expert and found This Latina Travels?
So first off, this was never in my bingo card. I never thought that I would be even considered a travel expert. I come from humble beginnings. I'm the oldest of four girls. My parents and myself are proud immigrants, so we didn't travel at all growing up. We didn't have the luxury of vacations because there was no money. We were just surviving. So the fact that I even get to run this as my full-time business, like it is just a dream really come true because I dreamed of traveling the world. I dreamed of beaches, of vacations, right? So something for me that really just keeps me motivated is always my why, and I just want to start off like by sharing that. But what really started this Latina Travels was because I needed a scapegoat from my 9 to 5. So back in 2021, I used to work with the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, and we all remember what was happening between 2020 and 2021 and all those years. So the pandemic really hit me hard as a first line responder. I was working 80-hour weeks. I was up and down the East Coast, literally traveling. So I needed to do something that was not work related. And so that's how this Latina Travels was born. It started as a podcast. And I said, as long as one or two people listen that are not my family or friends, to me was a win. And for me, it's always been about representation, right? Representation completely matters. And that's why I wanted to start this. I was kind of tired of traveling the world and being the only Latina brown woman in my age to be in these tour groups or to be in these first class seats. And I was like, I don't understand. Like, if I can do this, so can you. So that's honestly why it started. It started because it was a passion project. I wanted to teach others. And little, did I know that it would become my full business.
That's an awesome story. Thank you for sharing. So, Bianca, when you first started traveling solo, what experience helped you change the way that you see yourself as a woman and as a Latina?
Yes. So my first solo trip, and I consider this one my first because Bolivia is my home country, and we didn't go there till I was 11 years old. So it was 11 years till I got here because I came to this country when I was 6 months. But Bolivia's home, so I don't consider that my first big trip. My first like solo trip was Cape Town, South Africa, and that was right after I graduated with my bachelor's in science in college. And that trip really changed my life because one, it was me going overseas to a country that I had never heard, well, not that I never heard of it, but that I never thought I would be. And two, it was completely paid for. And so I always tell people this, that there are opportunities out there. You just really have to put yourself out there. And so when I was an undergrad, I did not study abroad. And that was my only regret in undergrad. Well, one of my many regrets, I guess I could say. But I
Mhm.
stayed in contact with the offices, and right after I graduated, I saw they had a program and it was like a scholarship. And what did I do? I asked because we need to ask. We need to continue putting ourselves out there because you just never know what the response will be. And the response was, yeah, absolutely, you can apply. And so it was like a 1 minute YouTube video you had to submit of how you were impacting your community at the time. And I was working at a nonprofit in Washington, D.C., and they selected me. And so that's how I was able to go to South Africa for free. I just had to pay the taxes, but it was 2 weeks, like an immersion program. So I stayed at a homestay. I got to see
Okay.
one on one what the discrepancies of also living in a big city, but having so many different environments. Like my focus at that time was HIV and AIDS. So I did a lot of like in person, like education and working with the kids that were there. I mentioned this trip because it really opened my horizons of how travel really made me the person that I am today. Like it allowed me to grow, it allowed me to gain confidence, right? Like I got on this plane by myself across
Wow.
like the ocean, and then it also allowed me to like really build community in a way that I would have never been able to do if it wasn't for these trips because you can only learn so much through books. So that's why I would mention like that trip really changed my life.
Wow, that's very powerful. How you mentioned, first making the bold decision to ask and then trusting that this opportunity would come to life. And then I think that was maybe a preview of, all the cool things you've been able to do since creating your business.
Yes.
Bianca, for a mom who hasn't taken a solo trip since she's had her kids, why do you think solo travel can be such a powerful way to reconnect with her identity and practice some self-care?
Mm. This is a really good question. So I want to first start off by saying, like, I'm not physically a mom yet. And although I did raise my three sisters, I was the mom figure. But seeing the struggles that my mom went through, I know for a fact that you can't pour from an empty cup. So taking time for yourself isn't selfish. I'm going to say that again because I think we all
Yeah.
need to hear that. Taking time for yourself isn't selfish, it's actually sustainable because the goal when you travel, whether you're a mom or not, is not to escape whatever the reality is. In this sense, it's motherhood, right? But no, but it's to come back and to be present. And that's what I believe solo traveling does. Like, it's not about running away from your problems, your family, but it's reminding you to put yourself outside of potentially your comfort zone, outside of your responsibilities. And that's how I feel you can refill your cup. So, to everyone who's listening, I just want to remind you, to give yourself that permission. Give yourself that permission to, take a break that you need to, refill your cup because it's not selfish and we all need to do that.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. And yes, taking care of ourselves is not selfish at all. Let's say we have a mom who is thinking about solo travel, but she's feeling overwhelmed because she hasn't traveled in a while. So, what type of destination or trip would you recommend that she consider?
Yes, I always tell people that you don't have to fly across the world to experience the benefits of any type of travel. I think a lot of times when we think of traveling, we think, oh, we need to have our passport, we need to just cross the ocean. And I'm like, no,
Yeah.
literally look at your neighborhood cities and states. We live in a place in the United States, if you're listening from there, that we have so many beauties and gems that is
Mm.
not highlighted on social media, perhaps, or that is not like something on everybody's bucket list, but
Yep.
that could be your best vacation. Like, how many times, like, do we ask ourselves, like, do you know your neighborhood town? Like, do you really know, like, every
Hmm.
city that's around you? Because I can say, like, I didn't. I grew up in the DC, Maryland, Virginia area, Northern Virginia, and ask me how many times I went to the White House, the museums, the Washington Monument as a kid, probably twice because it was a field trip. And we all know during field trips as kids, we did not pay attention.
Yeah.
So as an
Yeah.
adult, I got to experience like a museum a couple months ago in DC and I was just like, wow, this is so cool.
Yeah.
I just so the fact that I'm like I could have taken just a staycation in Washington DC, a moment for myself,
Hmm.
just to practice like self-care. And I say that because I think for a lot of times, especially as women, like we have this fear of eating alone, of doing things alone.
Hmm.
And not everybody, right? Because now I can proudly say I don't, like, because I've traveled everywhere. But in the beginning, absolutely. I thought it was weird. I was like, what is this? Like me going to eat by myself. But I can guarantee you, once you start, you're not going to want to stop because that time alone, again, allows you to just focus on yourself. You get to decide what to eat. You get to decide what to drink. You get to
Hmm.
decide what you want to explore. So that's how
Yeah.
I would say. I would say start off with something just really nearby. If there's a nice Airbnb that you can splurge, if there's like a nice event that you want to go to,
Hmm.
um, there's so many like opportunities even to be in groups. Like I always tell people like excursions and all that stuff, you're not by yourself, you're with a group. So if being by
Hmm.
yourself like is something like you fear, do that. Like take yourself on a date, but do those excursions in groups. So, but the best important key thing is to remember to enjoy yourself, enjoy being and having that time on your own, and that you don't have to go across the world to travel.
Yeah, I love that. And I love how you mentioned that you can take yourself on a date. You know, what
Yes.
for those moms that haven't had a minute away from their kids, it's like, what is that going to feel like, to be able to treat you and give yourself some self-love as well. I love that.
Absolutely, absolutely. We all need to take ourselves on the dates, and I mean, I'll share
Yes.
one experience real quick that I did that I
Yeah.
loved when I was at in the Virgin Islands. That was a solo trip for me, like getting a raise or getting a promotion. I literally booked a catamaran tour, and it was a self date for myself. And I remember making that reel, and like so many women were like, "Wow, like that's so powerful." That's I'm like, but you can do it too.
Yeah.
Like I'm not. superwoman, even though some days I think I am, but anybody can
Yeah.
literally take yourself on a date because I truly believe
Mhm.
like you need to love yourself the most before
Yeah.
anybody, and that includes your kids.
Yes, absolutely. And so, Bianca, you were talking about traveling in groups. How can solo travelers find those trips or those travel groups that they can connect with other folks, other women, maybe other moms who are also traveling by themselves? Do you have any recommendations?
Yeah, so I have amazing amigas in the travel space that actually host women groups for travels.
Yeah.
So one of them I'm going to mention, her name is Mariza, and her
Okay.
business is called Amigas on Tours. And literally, I love her motto, and I talk about her all the time. She's so funny. She's like, I need to sponsor you, and I'm like, no, because and it's crazy because I haven't been on one of her tours, but I see it and I know her
Yeah.
personally. But they literally come as strangers and leave as amigas, and I think that's so
Wow.
beautiful. And that just shows like there's so many other like group
Yeah.
trips. If you want to at least just browse and start looking, go
Mhm.
on Facebook. There's so many Facebook travel groups that may be a little bit overwhelming, which I totally get. So then that's when you
Yeah.
start like looking for like more women focused. There's
Uh-huh.
mom groups out there.
Yeah.
And if not, like start locally too. Like there's a lot of meetup groups that happen.
Mhm.
I see a lot of Airbnb experiences also that is
Yeah.
something that you can venture to. But social media really is a great tool when used correctly, I always say. And so
Mhm.
if you start following these certain like travel bloggers or travel content creators, I can
Yeah.
guarantee you like they always talk about specific like trips for women to like join. And so if you need ever a recommendation, I always can send one your way too.
That's perfect. Yes, I heard a lot of great suggestions there for a mom to try. Perfect. So, Bianca, what programs, tools, or resources do you recommend? If, let's say she's picked a destination, she's ready to go, but now we're starting to look at, how much is this going to cost? And what are some ways that she can either find a discount or be able to do like a 2 for 1? Can you give some examples of some things that she might consider?
Yeah, of course. So we live in a time where we're so, grateful that everything is literally now on our phones, right? So
Mhm.
so we have like no excuse to look up tips, to look up research,
Yeah.
but I also realize that time is a valuable asset. And especially, if you have, other responsibilities, especially being a mom. So my
Yeah.
first thing is, one, coming up with a budget. And I know that sounds probably rhetorical, but you know your finances best. And this is what I
Yeah.
tell people all the time, that traveling is also personal, just like money is personal. And so start off with that. And if you don't have a budget quite yet, start a high yield savings account that's a travel budget. So what do I mean by
Mhm.
that? Like make sure that you pay yourself. Just like every month we have to pay our bills, well, you are an important bill as well. And if you frame that mindset like that, I can
Mhm.
guarantee you're gonna either maybe not completely enjoy paying bills, but you're gonna look forward to, growing that travel fund because
Yeah.
that's the money that you'll have to use. So start like that, right? And then I would
Mhm.
say, so some of my favorite I guess travel hacks have been, one is flights, right? Flights usually is always an expensive caveat. So I am part of different listservs, email listservs. So one of
Mhm.
them is called Going. It used to be called Scott Cheap Flights, but they rebranded a couple years ago. And there's a free tier and then there's a premium tier. So there's a free version. You have no excuse. All you have to do is put your email in and
Yeah.
state the airport hub that you are closest with, and they
Uh-huh.
send you weekly emails. Like I always get emails like, "Oh, San Juan, Puerto Rico," which is
Yeah.
also a great destination, not just because I live here, but something as simple as that. Like if you see a flight that's in within your budget, then at least you have the dates and you have, that amount that you can spend on. And then from there, you can figure out how much you have left to do excursions, to do food, for accommodations. Because best believe every location that you go to, locations vary, like accommodations vary. Like you can go luxury, you can go, just simple. It really just
Yeah.
depends on the type of person that you are. And so another thing I do want to definitely share, and this is, I'm not a financial expert at all, but I have learned the credit card hacking points, right? There are a lot of travel
Mhm.
credit cards out there. My
Yeah.
favorite one is the Chase Sapphire Preferred, but I also realized that it has a very high annual fee. Like we're talking almost now
Yeah.
$700. It's not cheap,
Oh, wow.
but I get to work it the way I want to because within
Yeah.
that annual fee, I get like $350 for an airfare,
Yeah.
deduction. So clearly I travel all the time, so I'm going to use that. The
Yeah.
travel insurance, which is another safety
Oh,
tip that
yeah.
I please, 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 if you do not, have a travel credit card and you're not like paying that to get the insurance,
Yeah.
you need to also be mindful when you travel abroad, especially like to have
Mhm.
travel insurance because you don't want to be put in a situation where you're stuck or you're going to be paying thousands and thousands on medical care. And
Yeah.
again, a lot of times people don't know this, but travel insurance is actually relatively affordable. Like it's not as
Mhm.
expensive, so that's something to
Yeah.
put out there too. And then for me, another like safety tip is a portable charger. I think people don't think about this often, but I always have plan B and
Yeah.
try to think of plan C just in case. But
Yeah.
whenever you travel, whether it's, inland or out, like you should always have a charger because you just never know, when your
Yeah.
phone will die, when an emergency will happen, and make sure it's charged. So I guess just to recap, do your research. Please, please, please. Like there's so many ways that you can do that. Like simply as putting a hashtag in social media. Look up travel bloggers like myself. You can, shameless plug. I have a bunch of free resources under my blogs that you can read reviews. If you can afford a travel credit card, get on a travel credit card and use all your expenses for that. And what else did I say? And get on those email listservs.
Mhm.
There's Thrifty Traveler and Mochileando is another one. So, and I'm an open book. So if you need any more resources, please just ask away.
Yes, and we'll be linking the ones that Bianca has mentioned here in the description of the video as well.
Mhm.
Awesome. Well, Bianca, can you share how a mom can get in touch with you to learn more about the services and products that you offer? And just in general, how can she stay in touch?
Yeah, so well, I would love for all y'all to come on and join my TLT newsletter community. It's absolutely free. I don't bombard people with emails because I barely have time to send one. I need to do better, but it's really simple. You just go to thislatinatravels.com, and when the pop-up comes up, you just put your name and your email, and you'll get my free travel checklist. And then monthly, I send like a recap on tips and tricks of wherever I'm traveling, any updates of mine personally and travel, and then also like any um, potential coupons or different resources that I have that I know could benefit the travel community. But I'm in all social media platforms at This Latina Travels on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook. And my biggest thing is, just stay connected. I pride myself in knowing at least 80% of my followers, and that's because I really value community. I really value connection. And so if there's something that you are just thinking about, something that you're just unsure, ask away. Like send me a DM. I don't bite. I'm very friendly. I hope, but a lot of
Yeah.
people tell me my energy is contagious, and I hope that's what you get. But if I don't know it, then I probably know somebody who knows it. So
Yeah.
yeah, so please stay connected. I do have a travel guides and travel merchandise also on my
Mhm.
storefront. I always forget to really shine on that, but I love, love,
Yeah.
love my logo. I love just having people rock stickers, rock luggage tags, hats, shirts. So all that is also on my storefront. And because you're listening, you can use the code podcast and you'll get a 20% off, and you're helping a local small business. So yes, but stay connected. That's the most important thing.
Awesome. Thank you, Bianca. And she is wearing one of the t-shirts that you can find on her merch store. Yeah, I have one of your stickers as well. It's on my favorite mug that I use when I travel. So this Latina
Yay.
Travels comes with me when I'm on the road.
I love it.
Well, thank you so much, Bianca, for sharing with our audience all about solo travel, why it's so important to take that time for yourself, and how you can really just go out and explore the world, even if it's right in your backyard. So thank you for all the tips and tricks that you shared with us, and most importantly, your story and your why. And I'm sure that there's a mom out there that will be inspired to go take her first solo trip.
Yes, I'm so excited. Thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you, everyone. Bye bye. For our New Horizon Moms community, Bianca is offering 20% off her digital travel guides with the code PODCAST. Here's how you can stay in touch with Bianca through Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at This Latina Travels, through YouTube, This Latina Travels, through LinkedIn, Bianca Alba, by email, info@thislatinatravels.com, or through her website, thislatinatravels.com. Stay in touch with New Horizon Moms through Instagram at esmeralda.lunaramos, through LinkedIn at New Horizon Moms, or through email newhorizonmoms@gmail.com. If you enjoyed this conversation, subscribe to the New Horizon Moms channel for more content to support and empower working moms just like you.